Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Mark here from diabetesdietguide.com, and today we're talking about how many carbs you should eat with type 2 diabetes. So I'm super excited about this video because it's the type of content and information that I share in my one-to-one consultancy with clients all the time, and also the type of stuff we cover on our online programs, which also now comes with one-to-one consultancy appointments. So I wanted to share this with you to give you an idea about what we do, and also I'm sure you're going to benefit from learning this information. Now we got a lot to get through. First thing we need to do is think about how many carbohydrates should you be having, as the title implies, where the carbohydrates are in our diet and how many carbs they provide. And then I'm going to give you practical examples about how to reduce that carbohydrate content when you're eating and in your diet. So make sure you watch through to the end to make sure that you get the practical application of this. So let's jump right in. All right, so step one is how many carbohydrates should you be eating in your diet? Now, the general consensus from Diabetes UK is 150 grams per day. Now, it's probably no secret that generally speaking, a low carb diet is the advice to manage type 2 diabetes. Now, there's no true definition of what a low carb diet is. Rough estimates range between 70 grams to about 150 grams, but no one can really agree on it, and studies use different amounts. When you start dropping below 70 grams, even 50 grams, that's when you go into the realms of very low carbohydrate diets. Which is slightly different, and that's more your keto-based diet, which is not what we're talking about today. So that's how much we need. Now, of course, it's very individual about how many carbohydrates you can eat. Some people will be able to eat more than that and still maintain normal glucose levels. Others will be at the very low end of that spectrum and have high glucose levels. And that is to do with the length of diagnosis, their genetics, how much insulin resistance they have in their body, how much exercise they're doing, and a few other factors on top of it. So it is individual, so you may need to tailor this to yourself, and your glucose levels will soon tell you whether or not what you're eating is too much for you. And if you can't get on top of it from a diet and lifestyle perspective, go seek advice from your diabetes team or your GP practice. Right, so step two is, where are the carbohydrates in our diet? So I've listed them out here, and I've also wrote down the content of the carbohydrates in these foods per portion, the recommended portions for a healthy diet. Now, I've excluded lactose, which is found in milk and in yogurt. They're pretty low contributors. They provide about 5 grams of carbohydrates per 100 grams, unless the yogurt is, of course, flavored. But we're really looking at the dinner plate here and things that you're going to be eating throughout the day. I appreciate they may feature in the diet, but we know they're pretty low contributors overall, unless it's a sugary yogurt, in which case sugar may clock that it's going to have a higher carb content. So first one here is vegetables. So a portion of vegetables is about 80 grams. That's one of your 5 a day. It's about a double handful, okay? Now, the big hitters in the vegetable world are things like carrots, parsnips, and sweet corn. And even a double portion like that, 80 grams, provides only 12 to 15 grams of carbohydrates. Everything else is below that 12 gram threshold. I'm sure there's some other vegetables out there that I've not thought about. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list, but as a rule, vegetables are very low in carbohydrates, which is why we tend to tell people not to worry too much about them. If you're scrutinizing vegetables, you're probably going too far and actually focusing in the wrong places. Next, fruit. So fruit, a portion of fruit is roughly a handful. So 2 small fruits, 1 normal sized fruit, or a chopped up larger fruit like a melon. So again, biggest hitters in the fruit world, 32 grams from a portion in dried fruit because it's concentrated sugar. A banana provides around 20 to 30 grams per banana. You could probably chop that down into a handful if you wanted, as a normal banana is probably going to be more than that. But you know, who's going to only chop up a banana and eat some of it? You're probably going to eat the whole thing. So that's how much a banana provides. 15 grams for an apple, 10 grams for an orange, and then 8 grams for berries and other foods like that. I haven't mentioned grapes on the board here. Grapes aren't actually that carby. It's actually 15 grams per 100 grams. So it's going to be about 12 grams per 80 grams, give or take. So it's not that carby. It's just that no one has a handful. Everyone has a punnet because they are very moreish. So actually, when we take out the top 2 here, these aren't very carbohydrate heavy either. Legumes, beans, pulses, lentils, chickpeas, again, comparative to the big hitters, aren't very carby. 16 grams per portion, double handful. which actually isn't too bad, and they can be a good substitute for the biggest hitter, which is your starchy foods. Now, these are the things like rice, pasta, cereal, oats. Now, it's not to say that these foods aren't unhealthy. They can be very healthy and they are part of a balanced diet. But we do know with diabetes, your body is now unable to digest these as it once did. So to overdo these can cause high glucose levels, which is then going to undo the other benefits that they are providing. So how much carbohydrate do these provide? Well, you can see compared to the other groups, a lot. So a 75-gram portion, which is usually about the recommended amount for rice and pasta, provides 50 grams of carbohydrates. Cereal, it is as carby as rice and pasta, but the recommended portion is only 30 grams, which is a tiny amount. You know, if you eat that, you're probably going to be hungry. Some people get by on it, but in reality, it's not really going to be that appetizing and it's not really going to be that filling. So most people I speak to tend to have more than the recommended allowance, and you find then actually from the cereal world provides the same amount of carbohydrates. Cereal world, that's a weird way of saying that. Cereal then provides about the same amount of rice and pasta because you tend to end up having about 60, 75, 100 grams of cereal anyway. Now, the one exception to the rule in the starchy world is potatoes. Now, obviously, they're more of a root veg, but they fall in the starchy category. Now, they're actually per pound not as carby as the other foods. So per gram, they provide 22.5 grams of carbohydrates per 100 grams. But the problem is they're quite dense. So actually to have an equivalent portion of these, say 70 to 75 grams of potato, it's not going to look very big on the plate. So we tend to have more potato comparative to the portion size that we'd have with these. So you end up roughly having about the same amount of potato and carbohydrate as you would with the other options. So already we can see here is where the money's at. This is the biggest contributor. Obviously, I'm not talking about processed sugars and cakes and biscuits in this. We know they're sugary, we know they're carby, so that goes without saying. But we can see then, vegetables, we don't really need to be worrying about too much. Fruit, it depends on the option. It doesn't mean you can never eat a banana, and I'm going to highlight that in a second. Legumes can be a fantastic replacement for those starchy foods, and also so can vegetables. So we can almost distribute the plate slightly differently or make certain changes in our diet that can reduce the carb load. Now, let's look at a typical day that I usually see actually working with patients, if I can actually turn the page. Now, the first thing you'll notice is this doesn't look like a lot of food, and it's because it's not. This is actually quite a healthy, balanced diet, providing around 1,500 to 2,000 calories in a day. So our patient starts the day with 75 grams of cereal, which provides about 50 grams of carbs. They have a snack of an apple, 15 grams. Lunch is a sandwich and a banana, which both provide about 30 grams of carbs. Have another snack, an orange, around 10. And then dinner, they have their meat and veg and some rice, which again provides about 50 grams, and the veg provides about 10. So our total intake for this day is 195 grams. So we're 45 grams above the upper limit of the 150 gram recommendation. Despite the fact this doesn't look excessive, it's not particularly unhealthy, but it can quite quickly accumulate to provide too much carbohydrate. Someone without diabetes, this wouldn't be a problem. Someone that's being very active and physically active and burning up that glucose, it might not be a problem. But someone that is quite sedentary, not moving much, not walking much, not doing any formal exercise, who has diabetes, that's going to probably cause some hypoglycemia. And I see it all the time. No guarantees it will, but you can see how it quickly accumulates. However, we can make some simple changes that can reduce that carbohydrate intake that will help reduce your glucose levels. So let's take a look. Again, struggling with the turning of the pages today. So, same day, example day 2, sorry. So this time for breakfast, instead of having cereal, you have 2 boiled eggs, which provides 0 grams of carbohydrate, and 1 slice of toast. So actually you've probably eaten a bit more food here, so you're going to be fuller for longer anyway, with a lower carbohydrate intake and arguably less calories. Then you still have the same snack, which is an apple. Lunch, this time you choose a vegetable chicken pot, which you can get in the supermarkets, assuming you're going for convenience foods. Or you can try and be a bit more prepared and you have some leftover vegetable stir fry with some protein. Again, the vegetables are only going to be providing around 10 to 20 grams of carbohydrates, and then you still have the banana, 30 grams. Then for dinner, you substitute out the rice with, well, I shouldn't say you substitute out some of the rice and replace it with cauliflower rice. Not to everyone's liking, but it's just an example of the type of things you can do. So now you're going 50-50 with the rice and cauliflower rice. So rather than 50 grams, you now have 25 grams of carbohydrate. Meat still 0, vegetables still provides 10 grams. So just with some simple switches, you can see we've reduced the total carbohydrate now to 110 grams. Much less likely you're going to get a hyperglycemic episode, high blood sugars. And ultimately, it's still pretty much the same day. Lunch has changed a little bit. You still kept your banana and your fruit snacks. So this is the kind of thing that people always asking me about. And it's also the type of psychology that I struggle to get across, because people ask very specific questions. They'll say, a banana's bad. And you can say yes or no. But really, the answer is, it depends, because they provide a lot of carbohydrates. They also provide a lot of nutrients. But you can see in this context, they are absolutely fine. In the context of the first day, they're still fine. But in relation to everything else you're eating, they're exacerbating those high glucose levels. So simple changes you can make from today to lower those blood glucose levels. Okay guys, that's it. So remember, head over to diabetesdietguide.com if you want more information like this. We got consultancy and programs, which is now amalgamated for quite an inexpensive price of £90. You get one-to-one, sit-down one-to-one appointment with a dietitian who can help you work through your challenges and get the benefit of all the information we have from our online programs and downloadable material. Or if you just want to browse for free, we have lots of blogs and information designed to help you get on top of those glucose levels and start managing your diabetes. Hope you found it useful. Remember to subscribe and like the video, helps us out a lot, gets us more coverage, and the more people that see this, hopefully the more people we can help. And if I'm not the most regular with posting, so hit the notification bell if you want to know when we post. I'll see you later guys.